The night I saw the bedroom light turn on in a room that was supposed to be empty, I finally understood that grief can be staged. For 5 years, my husband Owen had been lying in a private care facility outside Dayton, Ohio. At least, that was what everyone told me. Every doctor, every nurse, and especially Owen's family. The accident happened on a wet November highway. One crushed guardrail, one flipped SUV, one long call in the middle of the night telling me that Owen had survived, but he hadn't really come back. The doctors called it a persistent vegetative state, a fancy way of saying my husband was a ghost who still needed to breathe. I was 38 when that call came. By 43, I had spent 5 years visiting, hoping, praying, and slowly disappearing into the role of the devoted widow in waiting. If you enjoy stories where a woman discovers the life she spent years mourning was actually a prison built of lies, stay with me. My name is Claire Mercer, and I was about to learn that sometimes the person you die for is the one keeping you in the dark. The first red flag was Tessa, Owen's younger sister. She called me that night before the hospital even did. When I arrived at the ER, she was already there with a man named Dr. Paul Renner, a neurologist she introduced as a close family friend. Looking back, that was the trap. People rarely show up to your worst nightmare with a specialist perfectly in position, unless they've already written the script. But I was broken. I signed every paper they slid across the table. I gave Tessa power of attorney over the business. I let her handle the insurance. I was too busy holding Owen's limp hand to notice she was holding my entire future. By the third year, the house felt like a tomb. Tessa insisted Owen stay in a high-end private facility. "He needs the best, Claire," she'd say, her hand on my shoulder, eyes full of fake sympathy. But I noticed things. The facility bills were astronomical, yet Owen's room always felt sterile, too clean. Once, a young nurse mentioned he was restless at night, but before I could ask what that meant, she caught Dr. Renner's eye and went silent. Then came the phone. Owen's old cell phone. Tessa said she kept it for account verification. But one Thursday evening, 5 years after the crash, I felt a strange impulse. I missed his voice. I just wanted to hear his voicemail one last time. I dialed the number. It rang. Once. Twice. And then someone answered. There was no hello. Just slow, steady, conscious breathing. I whispered, "Owen?" The line went dead. My heart was hammering against my ribs. I didn't call back. I didn't tell Tessa. I drove straight to the care home. I walked past the front desk, my heart in my throat. I pushed open the door to room 402. It was empty. The bed was made. The machines were gone. A housekeeper was changing the linens. She looked up, surprised. "Oh, I thought they told you." He was cleared to go home tonight for the weekend. Home. I didn't scream. I didn't call the police. I drove to our house, the house I had been living in alone for 1,800 nights. I parked 2 blocks away and walked through the misting rain. I moved like a shadow through my own backyard. I stood under the bedroom window. The light clicked on, and there he was. Owen, my unconscious husband. He wasn't in a hospital gown. He was wearing flannel sleep pants and my old college sweatshirt. He was standing, walking, arguing with Tessa. I pulled out my phone. My hands were shaking so hard I nearly dropped it. I redialed his number. I watched through the glass as he reached into his pocket. The faint ringtone carried through the cracked window. He looked at the screen. He saw my name, my face, and he declined the call. In that moment, The Claire who loved him died. The Claire who was a victim vanished. I didn't storm in. I sat in my car and watched the rain streak down the glass. One sentence burned in my mind. He chose to let me mourn him. The next day, I didn't call Owen. I called my cousin Marianne, a forensic accountant who finds the truth in spreadsheets. We spent 10 days in a hotel room, digging through every bank statement and insurance claim. The pattern was sickening. Owen's business hadn't just struggled. He had embezzled millions and was about to be caught. The accident was his exit strategy. Tessa had used the disability payouts to fund her gambling debts. Dr. Renner was getting a 20% cut to sign the fake progress reports. They weren't just hiding Owen. They were harvesting my life. I invited them to dinner. A family meeting, I told Tessa. She sounded so happy on the phone. That's a wonderful idea, Claire. We need to stay strong. Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Owen walked through the front door, leaning on a cane, playing the part of the recovering patient. I didn't say hello. I placed a stack of photos on the dining table. The photo of him standing by the window. The records of the secret offshore account Marianne found. The wire transfers to Dr. Renner. Tessa tried first. She always was the better liar. Claire, honey, you're clearly suffering from a breakdown. This stress, it's made you imagine things. Dr. Renner says this is common for spouses of long-term patients. Owen looked at me, his eyes wet with fake tears. I did it for you, Claire. I didn't want you to see me fail. I wanted to protect you from the debt. I looked at them both. I didn't feel anger. I felt a cold, sharp clarity. You didn't protect me, Owen, I said, my voice as steady as a surgeon's hand. You used my grief as a hiding spot. You let me cry for 5 years so you didn't have to face a judge. You didn't protect the family. You protected your skin. I gave them a choice. Turn themselves in, or I'd hand the file to the FBI agent waiting in the driveway. Owen is in prison now. Tessa is too. The care facility was shut down. I still live in the house. I repainted every room. I tore up the carpet. I made sure there wasn't a single shadow left for them to hide in. Sometimes women come to the clinic where I work. They tell me their husbands are complicated or that things just don't add up. I tell them, trust your gut over your heart. Your heart wants to believe the lie because the truth is too heavy to carry. But the truth will set you free, even if it breaks you first. If the story around you is too perfect, if the people helping you are the ones controlling the information, stop looking at their faces. Look at their hands. Look at where the money goes. And if you ever see a light on in a room that's supposed to be dark, don't be afraid. Walk toward it. That night in the rain wasn't the end of my life. It was the first time I actually saw it. My name is Claire Mercer, and I'm finally done living in someone else's script. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next story.